Okay, welcome back to I Love That For You, where two best friends talk about how motherhood impacts the rest of your life.
Oh,
Hi, Katie.
hi, Megs. How are you?
Good morning.
Good
Oh
morning.
man, we've been healthier in our lives. Healthier.
Isn't that the way it is right now?
I know. I've got boogers on my shirt this morning. I'm not sure if they're mine or Esme's. That's
Sometimes it's
just
better to not know.
yeah. And I'm looking a bit scraggly because every time I tried to get in the shower last night, I would like take my pants off in the bathroom and I had my baby monitor in there. And then as soon as I took my pants off and turned the water on, Esme started crying.
She knows.
She knows. And then I'd pull them back up and I'd like look at the monitor and she'd stop. And I swear this happened 6 times. And then I finally got in the shower and all I was able to do was like get my hair wet and then I had to go intervene. So we're looking we're looking fluffy. We're feeling interesting. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. My daughter said something incredibly hurtful the other day while I was trying to take a shower. She,
As
of
your
course, like
three-year-olds do.
they right, 3-year-olds. I mean, they just know how to like hit you where it hurts.
Yeah, brutal
Um,
honesty.
So I was getting undressed to get in the shower. She wanted to hang out in there, watch a show on my phone. Great, keeps her occupied, and I get to get myself clean. And as I've taken my clothes off and I'm stepping into the shower, she looks at me, very serious face, and goes, "Mommy, what's wrong with that nipple?" And the fact that she singled out one of them was so much more hurtful than if she had just said, "Your boobs look weird," or anything else. It was just that one nipple
So
was the weirdest
particular,
part. So
so
particular.
particular, so
Oh man,
hurtful.
just gut wrenching.
And of course, they've been through some trauma. Your nipples have been through a lot.
Right? It's not
Yes.
like they've had an easy ride throughout my postpartum experience.
The last 4 years, should we say, we'll include pregnancy in
Oh,
that, right?
yeah.
That's a lot. And that's, I think, what we're going to be talking about today. Bodies.
Yeah, I think we should. We need to do some processing around all of
We
this.
need to process the impact of what your daughter just said.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
let okay. Here's the thing. I've been thinking a lot about body dysmorphia
Yeah.
in postpartum, right?
Mm.
So, and I think it's a term that gets thrown around a decent amount on especially social media. And we want to make sure we're using it in a way that's appropriate. We also want to
Right.
make sure other people know what it is. So, you've got some education here in the psychology world, Katie. How
I
would you
do.
define body dysmorphia, and
Yeah.
how are we talking about it?
hmm So there is this whole like diagnosable disorder about body dysmorphic disorder. Um, and it is where you are overly focused on a perceived flaw that may or may not be based in reality.
Yeah.
Um, we see this happen across all sorts of body types, across the entire gender spectrum. It's just this overly focused, just pain point about a perceived flaw.
Yeah.
Now, I think when you and I talk about body dysmorphia, especially related to our postpartum bodies, our pregnancy bodies, we're not really talking about that same like diagnosable level. It's not maybe something that's interfering with the everyday quality of our lives, of our ability to live our lives. We're more just talking about this dysphoric feeling and disconnection from our bodies. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
still kind of that way in which we might focus on flaws in our bodies, but also just how we feel disconnected from our bodies in general. Um,
Yes.
so I want to be clear that we're not talking about body dysmorphic disorder. We're just talking about the experience of body dysmorphia, of feeling like your body is wrong, doesn't belong to you, isn't yours, that there's something wrong with it that
Yes.
probably isn't based in reality. It's just
Yes.
the way your head has decided to view how your body is now.
Yeah. And oh my God, if pregnancy and birth and postpartum is not such a trip on just
Right.
the amount that your body changes, like every month. Nothing is constant, nothing is stable. And that impacts your
Mm-hmm.
ability to feel at home and
Yeah.
familiar with yourself. So I remember, I like distinctly remember the first time I like took all my clothes off after giving birth and turned around in the mirror, and I was like, "Oh, excuse me, my mic." And I was like, what on my back? It was upper back rolls like that had never been there before. And not to say there's anything wrong with that. It was just brand new for me and nothing, no
Mm-hmm.
one had ever told me, "Hey, in pregnancy and postpartum, yeah, your boobs, everyone knows your boobs are going to get big, your stomach's going to
Right.
stretch out, you're going to get the lovely hip stretch marks. We got those, but
Love
no
those
one
ones.
told me about the upper back rolls, right? And I'm wearing these really loose, comfortable nursing bras because your
Mm-hmm.
boobs don't want to be contained. You're going to get mastitis, you're going to get all the things that are extra
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So everything's just floating around, nothing's being held in. And I don't know who I am when I look in the mirror. This is so
Mm-hmm.
unfamiliar. And that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
The back rolls have morphed, but everything also keeps changing, right?
Yeah.
My boobs are different now than they were 6 months ago. And 6 months ago, they were different than they were 6 months before that. So, who I am in my body is not constant anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you.
Yeah. I think I have experienced a very similar thing. So I have been pregnant twice, right? I've given birth to two sets of twins. Um, and each time I've had a very wildly different postpartum body experience. The first time I was exclusively pumping. I was an overproducer, so I'm pumping like 100 ounces of milk a day, which is wild.
That's
And
so
thank goodness
much.
my body could do that, but like it shouldn't. And I didn't know how to like take care of a body that was doing it. So I lost a ton of weight really fast because all of my calories were going into just the milk that was just pouring out of me at all times. And so my body kind of returned to a baseline that, even though it didn't feel familiar, it looked familiar a lot
Mm-hmm.
quicker. And so I could look at myself and I'm like, I don't maybe necessarily feel connected to that body, but I at least know what that looks like. And then the second time, I gained more weight, my stomach
Mm,
got bigger faster, and
yeah.
this time I knew what to expect with pumping. I knew how to take care of my body in that. I ate a lot more food. I did a lot more to like nourish myself, which was great. I pumped even more milk, if you can imagine. Um, but my body didn't shrink the same way that it had before. So now, this time, I still feel that same level of disconnection from my body, and it looks different than it ever has. My boobs look wildly different than they ever have in my whole life. My stomach looks different than it ever has. I've, of course, like we all have gained and lost weight throughout my entire life. That's just a normal
Mm-hmm.
part of being a human. So the numbers about my body don't feel abnormal to me. But what feels abnormal is just the way everything is sitting. My skin elasticity is wildly different. If I sit
Yes.
down too fast, my boobs make a noise against my stomach. That's never happened before in my life. And I think that's
You like
where
got your own little
what we're talking
maracas.
about, I really do. It's like I have to be wearing a bra at all times, otherwise I hear it, and I don't appreciate that. That's not what I'm wanting for me. That's not a part of my journey that I'm loving. Um, yeah. But it speaks to that, like, when we're talking about this body dysmorphia, we're talking about disconnection. It's not really self-esteem. It's not body image, right? Like, sure, I might look at my body at times and feel, I wish it looked a little different. I wish that I could change this about it or this about it. I might feel uncomfortable or have some low self-esteem around certain aspects at certain times, right? That's normal.
Mhm. Mhm.
But my baseline issue isn't that I feel bad about what my body looks like. It's that I don't actually know what it looks like. I'll put on
Mhm.
a shirt and then my boobs aren't where I expect them to be, and they're not
Yes.
shaped like I'm expecting them to be shaped. And then
Yes.
my stomach's doing something different that I just don't know
Yeah.
what my body is anymore.
Yes. And I do think that yes, it's there is such a difference between the dysmorphia and the
Mm-hmm.
the self-esteem, right? Or the feelings, but one can impact the other for sure. Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember the first time I went jeans shopping
Ooh,
after giving birth,
dangerous
which is
business.
so dangerous. For anyone out there who's pregnant right now, I would say just give yourself some time before you try and put on a pair of hard pants. I also have a friend who talks about them hard pants versus soft pants.
Soft pants are what you should live in for as
Soft
long as you
pants.
feel comfortable. And if that's your entire life, then you're me. And I try to never put on hard pants.
Yeah, Katie approved uniform. So I'm at my favorite store. Don't know if I can say it, copyright. And
We don't give out free promotion like that. This is a booming
no, we don't.
podcast.
You better pay me if you want me to say my favorite store. And I kept having to ask the dressing room attendant to bring me the next size up. And I had to do that significantly more times than I was expecting, right? Because it wasn't just the weight uh, gain and distribution of my body that had changed, it was my actual bone structure. My hips had widened from birth, and I was not aware that that was a thing.
Right.
I knew you gained weight, I knew weight shifted, but to actually say the anatomy of your skeleton is gonna
Right.
change, that was startling to me. So that there was the dysmorphia there of like, is this? And then there was also all the feelings about having to size up so many more times than I was expecting. And so, yes, self esteem and dysmorphia, they are two different
Mm-hmm.
things, and they also do really impact each other.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to feel good, to feel confident, even to feel at a baseline just neutral about a body
Yes.
that you're in that you don't feel like is yours. Because I
Yes.
think that that's so important to recognize is that as we're going through all of these things, our bodies are not our own for so much of it. When you're
No.
pregnant, you're feeling something move inside of you that is not you. And that's an experience that doesn't ever happen in any other realm. When you're pregnant and then like a
No.
hand is being pushed into your stomach and you're seeing it raise and you're like, that's not me. There is an alien creature just inside of me. But they are running the show, right? If you have to
Mm-hmm.
pee, that's them. They've been kicking your bladder. I use they
Mm-hmm.
because I guess for me, because it's always been multiple. But like they're kicking your
That's just
bladder.
your reality.
Like I don't know what it's like to just have one in there. But they are just entirely in charge the entire time you're
Mm-hmm.
pregnant. And then that doesn't go away, right? Then you
No.
give birth and like I was exclusively pumping, but you breastfed. What was that like as
Uh-huh.
far as feeling like your body was yours?
Oh, oh, so weird. Especially because, like, I think also getting, for me, being a slightly more private person, getting very used to my boobs being um, handled like this object for the baby,
Yep.
right? Because we went to the she was having a hard time latching. So we went to the lactation consultant. And even just the moment after she was born, my doula was on my boob, literally milking me to collect colostrum. And the doctor is, you know, massaging out giving you the uterus massage that,
Oh,
like, it's not a gentle
no, that
massage.
hurts so bad.
Yeah, and I'm being milked, and I'm just like, what? And it just didn't stop. And so this one, it's that the utility of your body changes, right? And there's some definitely feelings attached to that. But then also, again, shape and size changes. I was just so engorged the first, I want to say, like 3 to 5 days after giving birth. And it was like rock hard. And I was like, whose body is this? I've always been like a maybe an A, maybe a double A in my life. Like, just itty bitty titty committee over here. And then to have these like very intense protruding parts of my body, sometimes I was like, hell yeah, this is cool. And then sometimes I was like, what the fuck? This takes all kinds of maintenance that I never had to do before.
Yes. That's so I
Yeah.
was not a part of the itty bitty titty committee. I have been in the large and in charge boob
Yes.
group. There's not a good rhyme for us that I know of. If you know a good
No, but
rhyme,
I
please
like
tell me.
that.
Um, but like the engorgement that I would experience, what what often happened for me, and this is a little bit grotesque, so like, be warned, is I was always wearing like really loose sports bras, like sports bras that were a size two or so larger than I needed because I would also get so engorged, but they would fill the entire sports bra and then they needed more space still. So what would happen is my boobs would start to push into each other and they would square off in the middle because the force of engorgement was pushing them together so much that they were just fighting for the space that I literally had like right angles going on in my boobs and all the veins are popping out. And it was just, you would look at it and you're like, that's not part of my body. That's not mine. Like, I don't even know what's going on there, but it was wildly uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. It's like hearing you talk about it, it's like tectonic plates that like
Yes.
form mountain ranges, you know? It's like that's the level of like pressure that's happening in your body in a brand new
Yes.
way.
And part of it was fun, right? There was a little bit of like, this is a party trick. And I would show people, of
Yeah.
course, because I
Oh,
am not
because
as
that's who
much of a
you
private
are.
person. I'm like, look at what my body's
No.
doing. This is weird. Um,
Yep.
but it was just so wild. And I don't know about you, but like I had one boob that produced more than the other. So like then one would be larger and
Yes.
one would be small. And then it's just so disorienting.
Yes. And nipple change, especially pumping, right? I feel like more than ever breastfeeding, pumping will mess with your nipple shape and size and length.
Yes.
Length.
So the nipple that Emmett pointed at, the reason
Yep.
she picked that one is because it is inverted now. It spent so much time being pulled out that it's now an innie.
Mhm. That guy was like, hey,
We did our duty.
too
We
much.
served our
We are
country.
done.
Thank me for my service and I'm out.
This one's hibernating.
Just so I mean I get it. I understand why
Oh
she
my
asked the
God.
question. Doesn't make it less hurtful.
No, absolutely
Yeah.
not.
And then you're in the process of
Yeah.
weaning right now, right?
I'm I'm in the process of weaning. Pray for me if that is in your belief system. We are so close. We're so close to being done. But the part that's really weird for me about this, that also goes along with body dysmorphia, is how other people see my body in all these different phases of changing, right? So I did something weird. I started dating with a baby while I'm breastfeeding. And We are intimate, and that is a weird thing to do with someone who's not my baby's father and wasn't there when I got pregnant, when my body changed through
Yeah.
pregnancy, when my body changed through birth, and when my body changed through the first, 6 to 9 months of postpartum. This guy's just getting this little snapshot, and sometimes I'll just say we both enjoy how my boobs look when they're really nice and full and
It's
juicy.
not bad.
It looks great.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I don't know what's going to happen when they deflate. And I feel like all I'm getting are the stories from
I'm
my
so sorry.
large chested friends about what that's like. And so there's this part of me too that's like, how do I relate to others as my body keeps changing, especially in these vulnerable places where I'm building new
Yeah.
relationships?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because it is something that out of like our support group, you're the only person who is kind of in that phase of showing your body and having somebody else get to know your body in this particular phase where they're seeing your body and they're like, yeah, I know that's hers. I know that
Right.
thing. But you're sitting there being like, he might know it better than I do right now. He might, in some ways, feel more connected to it than you're experiencing connection to your own body because
Yeah.
you've seen all these dramatic things happen to it. And he's just like,
He's like, this is all I've ever
I'm into
known.
that. We're good.
It's good. It's good for me.
Yeah.
We like it. We like
Right.
it. But I mean, you've experienced a lot of body change, and how has that impacted your marriage and your relationship?
It's been weird. I have been very thankful that my husband has continued to voice an attraction to me. And even at times when I have felt not good about my body, when that like body image stuff has crept in more, he's liked the way my body changed. But also sometimes the way that that attraction sits is different, right? I would
Mm.
say he's less of a boob guy now. Having seen what happened was maybe a little traumatizing for us all. And then, the fact that I can tuck them into my pants is maybe not the most appealing uh, situation. But
That one really got me.
I literally actually did fully tuck them into my pants the other day just to prove that I could. But
Oh my gosh.
like you said earlier, right? Your hips change and the way your bones sit changed. My butt is looking better than it ever has.
Oh, girl, I know it. When I was last there, I was like, your booty's looking fine.
So,
It looks really
we
good.
we took a little, but it does kind of change. I mean, even just feeling comfortable in your body and how you want it to be touched and how you feel open to that.
Yes.
And also recognizing that your body, A, went through a ton of trauma in pregnancy and birth, regardless of how much it did or did not go to plan. That is still a wildly traumatic experience.
Yes.
And then you have these full human beings who are on your body all the time. Like,
Hmm.
I, for probably 80% of the time that I spend with my children, out of four toddlers, three of them are touching me. And
Yes.
so feeling an ownership of my body is one thing, but also feeling like my body has the space to breathe, feeling like I have space is
Yeah.
different, and it does start to impact your relationships of just being touched out, of being like somebody has been on me this whole time and I'm needing space to just get to know my body today. What does it feel like? What is it like if I don't have a toddler hanging off my neck just slowly
Hmm.
murdering me?
I feel like your body's like a maypole, and your kids are all the ones with the little ribbons just running in circles around you,
Constantly. Yeah.
just yanking,
Yeah.
just yanking.
And so,
Yeah, oh, go
you
ahead.
just run into that like change after change after change. And
Yep.
there's just no clear end to when your body is going to become yours again,
Uh-oh.
right? That currently still, like, my kids are 3 and 1, and I still don't fully know when my body's going to be mine, when I'm going to have full ownership of it.
We've talked a lot about our experience
Mm-hmm.
as the birthing partner or birthing parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's our experience, and it's so important. And we're going to follow this up with a second episode where we talk about more of the body image experience and how much culture has shaped that for us,
Yeah.
which is going to be
It's
fun.
very enjoyable.
But I think we wanted to touch on a little bit, what about if you're not the birthing parent or partner, or if neither of you were? How has parenting impacted body familiarity or body dysmorphia, disassociation, because of what you were just saying about the fact that, like, it's not just that I pushed something out of my body, it's that my body is needed in a whole new way, and I am in some ways a utility
Mm-hmm.
that I used to not be, and that does make parts of me feel used or unfamiliar or just like different.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious to hear, to what extent is that universal for people?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so interesting, because I think I had the assumption that once my kids got a little bit bigger, once I was no longer like fueling them from my own body, that I would then feel ownership then. And that in some ways I have. Some ways I feel a little bit more ownership, but a lot of ways my body still isn't mine. And
Yeah.
how wildly different that must be when I at least got to have a progression, right? I got to experience pregnancy
Mm-hmm.
and the slow build there, but birth. So even though these changes have been one after another, you kind of progress through them. But for non-birthing partners or parents who maybe neither of them birthed, you're just like given a baby. And then all of a sudden, it's like your body was yours, and then the next day it wasn't. And I do think that'd
That is
be
so true.
really interesting to hear just more about what that experience is like, because that
Yeah.
one's wildly unfamiliar to us.
Right? So if you're listening, we want to hear from you. We're really
Yeah.
curious, I would say. Yeah. And really excited for the next
Mm-hmm.
chapter of this conversation. That's not always easy to have. I think people are having this conversation about body, but for me at least, sometimes it stays up here,
Yep.
right? And I don't need that right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are you gonna do now, Katie? What are you up to next?
Well, unfortunately, I hear one of my kids stirring back from their nap. So I'm going to go pick up a kid, hold them, and figure out what we're having for lunch, because I don't know.
Classic.
Yeah. What are you,
That's great.
where are you off to?
I'm gonna go try and take a shower again, since that really failed
Oh,
last
good
night
luck.
while my kid's at daycare, before hopefully she gets called out sick again, because dear God, I need her to stay in daycare.
Just long enough for you to take a shower, even if that's all you get. I really hope you get that.
Right? Just stay in daycare for another 20 minutes, and then I'll come pick you up if you need it.
Perfect. Okay, we'll have so much fun.
All right. I love you,
Love you
girly.
too.